And we're now talking about some common metrics to use to measure digital advertising efforts. This is part of week 14 and supports the last step of students' marketing plan step 5. Okay. All right. So feel free because I can't see anything on the chat and I can't see your faces right now when I'm full screen. So if you have a question or if my audio or anything drops, just unmute yourself and give me a shout out. That's the easiest way to do this. So step 5, we're talking about the budget and allocations of that budget and the metrics. Return on ad spend is a common metric that's used in digital advertising, and it's basically saying for every dollar of advertising that I spent, how much did I get back in sales? And obviously you want your return on ad spend to be a positive number, right? So a lot of digital entrepreneurs will say like 3-to-1 for every dollar I spend in advertising, I should get $3 back in sales. Now, keep in mind you have some other costs, so sales are not 100% profit, right? So you're going to have the cost of your product and operating expenses. So a 3-to-1 ratio kind of gets you to a break-even situation. Um, and then you want to get hopefully better than that. So we're going to end up on return on ad spend as kind of our last metric. I'm going to kind of walk you through some common pieces where you actually start with, you push out a digital campaign, you have all these impressions, and then some people click on it, you get some traffic to your website. Some people, actually bite on your clickbait and they actually give you their contact information, a phone number or an email. And then from there, some people actually buy. And of course, those numbers go down from original impressions to traffic to your website, to actually giving you a lead, their contact information, to actually buying something, right? So you might have 1,000 impressions, but only end up with 10 sales. So with digital advertising, it's all about kind of playing the numbers and seeing what some of the standard numbers are. Like, oh, that's a good conversion rate, or that's a good cost per lead number. And I'll show you some examples of these as part of this lecture. So step 5 of your marketing plan, not to beat a horse into the ground here, but it has these 3 parts: budget, allocations, and metrics. And how to do each of those is spelled out in great detail in that assignment. All right. So like I said, metrics are your goal return for each marketing activity. Go ahead and throw some of those in the chat right now. So if you consider advertising, just do the advertising piece. Remember, there's advertising, there's public relations, there's salespeople, AKA personal sales, and there's sales promotion, contests, sweepstakes, discounts, sampling, buy one, get one free. If we're looking at just advertising, where you have you're spending actual money on media and you have a named sponsor, what do you think would be some metrics for digital advertising, or even just digital activity? Throw those in the chat, anything that comes up. You might not have any yet, that's okay. One of them staring you in the face, right? Email captures, yep. Thank you, Karen. And of course, Yoda says return on ad spend. Sales, thank you, Karen. By the way, in the Mandalorian, that baby Yoda is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Well, we're gonna talk about a few more of these. Yo, thank you, JR. Conversion rates, clicks, yep, etc. There's so many metrics. Yep, same thing. Thank you, Alex. Click-through rates, impressions, likes, shares. He's talking about engagement rates as well, right? So there's a lot of terms bouncing around in that week 14 resource page. I've got a little bit of a glossary that explains some of these terms. We're going to focus on getting down to this return on ad spend. So with the digital entrepreneurs that I've talked to, this is the number that they like to look at the most. I'm not saying this is the only metrics, but it's certainly a common one. I'm going to skip objectives and get right to return on ad spend. Yoda says, spend $1 you shall and $3 you should make. Okay, terrible impression. I get it. Um, so this slide shows you some average cost per click, and this could be updated. I pulled this a while ago. This is from WordStream down at the bottom, which is one of those free sites that I gave you for keyword research. But if you looked at these different categories, and my legend, my Zoom legend is cropping off part of the bottom. I don't know if it is for you. Look at the colors of these different bars. You can see how expensive different CPC, cost per clicks, or what you're paying per click, um, is. What is one of the most expensive? What is this category right here? Why is it so expensive? Go ahead and put that in the chat. This kind of tan colored industry. Look down at the legend down here. And tell you what, go ahead. Yes, thank you. Legal. What are some other industries that, as we would expect, do have a high cost per click or a pay per click? We see legal with the tan here. How about this purple one over here? Yep. Employment services. How about this one over here? This other slightly darker tan one. Consumer services, like all things consumer services, rating services. And why are they so expensive on a cost per click basis? Go ahead and throw that in the chat. The products are expensive. The products are highly profitable. That's a good point, JR. So a lot of these products being information services, they're not making a thing. They're not making crochet hats or, you know, any type of hard widget product. So because it's just information, they don't have a whole lot of costs, right? So that enables them to spend more on their advertising. Legal costs a fortune. Yeah, so these are crowded spaces because there's a lot of players and they have high profit margins. Therefore, they can pay a higher cost per click. So we'll look at that in a second. I'm also going to show you how to do break-even cost per click, which is a number that tells you when I bid to be on any ad network, I shouldn't pay more than this cost per click. If I do, even if I'm increasing my sales, I'm not going to make any money, right? So you don't want to pay more on a cost per click than what you can pay and still be profitable. So we're going to look at that as well. All right, good chats on that. Thank you so much. All right, so here's the exercise. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through one first, and then you're going to do one in your groups. That is your metrics group piece, and then we'll do the fun part after, which is like Canvas. You guys get to do something creative around Thanksgiving just for fun, and that's extra credit. Okay, so our first number here is, let's assume this, and go ahead and jot this down on a piece of paper if you have it in front of you. If not, maybe open up a Google Doc and you can kind of have these numbers in front of you. But we're looking at this. Let's assume you have an ad budget of $1,000 a day. Big budget, right? About that's $365,000 a year. And let's assume your average cost per click is $1.50. You can easily do a Google search and find out kind of what's the average cost per click for your industry. But let's assume your cost per click is $1.50. Let's assume also that your opt-in rate is 25%. An opt-in rate is when you put an ad out there, they clicked on it, and they went to a landing page on your site, and then you had a little bit more clickbait, like, hey, watch, here's a free video, just give us here's a free tutorial video, just give us your email, and you can watch this video for free. It's where you're offering up some free content, and you're hoping to get a lead. Now, obviously, an email lead is a pretty crappy lead because folks are going to give you their don't bother me Gmail address. A phone number is better. But you set that up, whatever that lead is. Let's assume you have an opt-in rate of 25%. Those of you who are digital advertisers out there, is an opt-in rate of 25% good or bad? Go ahead and hit me with a G or a B. in the chat? Aaron says it's good. 25%. So one out of four actually gives you their contact information. What do other folks think? Is that low? Is 25% low, or is that high? Where's my chats, folks? Come on, I need to know you're out there.
It sounds to me kind of low, but that's just because it's just you're getting their information, but you're not getting them to buy something. Like if that was 25% of them actually buying stuff, I feel like that would be pretty high. But since it's just them giving you their information, I feel like that's kind of low.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Good point. 25% is actually really high. So what that tells you is, and think of your own experiences when you're online and you're getting bombarded with all kinds of ad junk, and you're like, oh, this is a cool, I watch surfing videos all the time, and then I get bombarded with like tutorials on how to pop up faster as a surfer. I'm like, I think I got it. I've been doing this for 40 years, but I still get those tutorial ads. What do they want? They're like, I'll click on that video, and they want me to like their channel. And if I like it, then I might go to the next level where they're actually trying to get me to opt in, like subscribe to their free surfing tutorial YouTube channel or whatever. But at a point, they're going to be asking me to opt in. You want more of my free stuff? Then give me your contact information. And why do we as marketers want to get their direct contact information, phone number or an email? Because we're starting on a digital platform, right? We can only reach them through that digital platform. But once we get their email, now we can market to them directly. We don't need YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera. We have their direct contact info. So 25% is pretty high. And then you have a conversion rate. Conversion rate is actual purchase. And these terms get kind of muddied around a little bit, but for this exercise, let's assume that conversion rate equals purchase. So some folks, you generated some traffic, you spent some money, people clicked on the ad, that's the traffic, right? So they just clicked, they engaged, which is great, and they clicked and went to a landing page on your website. So that's traffic to your website. And that's the first thing we're going to look at here. See down below where I've got it highlighted in this tan color is we're going to figure out the traffic based on our budget. You get some traffic, and then 25% of that traffic, 1 out of 4, actually wants more of your good stuff that's on your website. So they give you their contact information. They've now opted in. And then out of those folks, they've opted in, they're liking your stuff, and now they're actually going to buy something. They're going to buy something. Maybe I'm going to buy some exercise equipment to help me get stronger so I can pop up faster when I surf, or I'm going to buy some new kind of fin that helps my surfing, whatever. That conversion rate is 2.4%. What do you think of that conversion rate? Is that high or low? Go ahead and hit me in the chat. So out of 1 out of 4 who gives you their contact information, meaning they become a lead, only 2.4% of those leads actually buy something. Is 2.4 high or low? Karen's saying, it seems low, but yeah, feel like that's low, low, low. Conversion rates online are really low. So this is actually pretty average. This is pretty average. A conversion rate, if you're getting like above 5%, is considered really good. So what this tells you is that selling stuff online is a percentages game. And there's a lot of other things that drive if your stuff's going to get purchased. It's the quality of your content. Do I like your surfing tutorials? It's how many people are bouncing off of your website. Is the ad, am I the right target for your ad in the first place? So the better off you are with targeted content, a really easy to navigate website that resonates with your buyers, a good product offer, then that increases these numbers, right? You have more people clicking, you have more people opting in, you have higher conversion rates. And the higher these opt-ins and conversion rates are, then the more profit you're going to make, the more you're going to sell of your product, and you can also increase your ad spend a little bit. So let's do the first number here and just put it in the chat, and let's figure out what our traffic is. So the first number I want you to hit is your traffic. If you spend $1,000 a day, and I worked with an online entrepreneur who was actually spending $1,000 a day. How many people visits your site landing page in a day? And I'm telling you the calculation right here. It's your ad budget divided by your cost per click. There you go. Thank you, Karen. Hang on, let me check that number because I actually need to check. Yeah, it'd be 1,000 divided by 150. And I didn't do my math yet on these, so let me exit this. I'm gonna look at my own notes. Yeah, 1,000 divided by 150 is 666. 666. So that is correct. So that $1,000 you spend daily gets you 666 traffic. That's how many people actually end up going to your website. So it's important to remember that when you do a digital campaign, everybody who clicks costs you, right? So if you invite all your friends to check out your new campaign and they're clicking on it like 100 times, you're paying for those clicks. You're paying for those clicks. But it's great because at least you know they're engaging, right? They're clicking, which is the advantage of digital advertising versus traditional advertising, where you're just sending it out there and you've already spent the money. With digital, you obviously only spend when somebody clicks. So at least they've engaged and showed some interest and they've clicked. So our answer here is our traffic. Out of our $1,000 a day, we're getting 666, we'll go ahead and round down, leads each day. So how this applies to your marketing plan is you want to think about, as you're writing your step 5, you have a piece so customers can opt into your content, and do you have some opt-in percentages behind that? Are they going to do email or phone? And you could also research right here, what is your target opt-in rate for your product or service? So there is numbers out there where you can find out what's the average opt-in rate for your industry. So we've got our traffic, and I'm going to leave it in this view. I know it's a little bit smaller, but that way I can look at my notes. Our next question is, we want to know what's our cost per lead. What's our cost per lead? So we're spending $1,000 a day. We know we got 666 leads, and we want to know what's our cost per lead. So what we would do here is take the ad budget, which is $1,000 a day, and divide it by how many leads we got. So that is $1,000 a day divided by our number of leads. So for the leads, we know that we had 666 clicks. So I'm sorry, wait a minute. Did I jump? I did jump. I jumped a slide, my guys. I'm so sorry. Let me back up a second here. All right. I skipped a step. I apologize for that. How much traffic did you convert into lead for $1,000? Leads times opt-in rate. So let me back that up. So what's our number here? How many leads did we have? Clicks, 666. What's our opt-in rate? 25%. So out of those 666 who clicked on the ad, 25% of that 666 actually gave you their information. That is your number of leads. So what is that number? Go ahead and put that in the chat. There we go. Now we're at the Karen's number. Once she was jumping ahead of steps. So that's, yes, 167. So we spent $1,000 and we got 167 leads. So that takes us easily to the next step, which I'll do in a second here. But again, how do you opt in? So now let's look at what is your cost per lead? What is your cost per lead? How many leads do we have? 167. How much do we spend each day to get those leads? $1,000. So it looks like we're going to divide $1,000 by 167. What does that give us? What is our number for our cost per lead? Take $1,000 and divide it by 167. I'm seeing 6, 5.98. Yeah, I think I ran my number based on 167 originally, but yeah, I should take it just around 6 as a cost per lead. I divided it by 165, 606. So yeah, it's about $6 cost per lead. Now, this is an interesting number when you get to your cost per lead, because as you can see, as I'm zapping down here, you can compare the cost to get a lead here digitally versus getting leads where else? What other advertising methods could you use to get leads from other sources? You could go to a special event, assuming we're non-pandemic. You can go to a farmer's market if you're Perla. She's capturing leads there at her booth. What does it cost her to run that booth? How many signups does she get? That's her cost per lead, right? For whatever the cost was for that. So this enables you to compare what is my cost for a digital lead versus getting a lead in another way. And obviously you want to pursue whatever lead generator has your lowest cost per lead. So now you're getting savvy about how you spend your marketing budget. And we got our cost per lead. All right, so let's assume it's a 6 number. This will throw some of my numbers a little bit off. So now we've gotten our traffic. We've gotten our number of leads. We figured out what our cost per lead is. Now we're going to drill down to the next step, which is how many sales do we expect to have based on spending that $1,000 a day? So we know that we're spending $1,000 a day. And we know that the pay-per-click is $1.50. We know that our opt-in is 25%. And we now know that 2.4% of the leads that we acquire, which was 167, 2.4% of those leads, we had 167, are actually going to buy something. And we know that the sales price is 100. So first off, let's figure out how many sales do we expect to reach when we spend $1,000 a day. We would get that number by taking the number of leads right here, multiplied by our conversion rate. JR's got the number. 16. Other folks, go ahead and crunch that number. Seeing some other weird numbers here. Some folks are getting 4. So JR, just for a second, I'm going to go ahead and put you on the spot and go ahead and unmute yourself. You're correct. Oh, you got 4. So explain how you got to your number, JR.
I multiplied 667 visitors by the conversion rate of 2.4, so it's 0.024 to get the accurate number, right?
So the number, maybe my number's wrong. Let me check. You can go ahead and mute. So we've got 167. We've got 167 leads. Oh, I have a different percentage number. I'm so sorry. I see what I'm doing. Yes, you guys are right. It is 4. My apologies. I changed my percentage number from what I had in my exercise. So what you're doing is taking 167 leads times your conversion rate of 2.4%. 167 times 0.024 is 4. So my apologies to those who are saying 4 was wrong. 4 is correct. Is that making sense? Go ahead and hit me with a Y or an N in the chat, just so I can see if we got it or if we need to hit this one again. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for forgiving me. Yeah, it's, you know, it's almost Thanksgiving. We're all pretty tired. Good. All right, so we're getting some good info here as marketers and being savvy in how we're going to spend our money. So we need to sell X. We're going to get X number of sales off that $1,000 we spend a day. And our answer here is, let's just round it to 4. And for the conversion rate, don't use my number here. Go ahead and research what is the average conversion rate for selling coffee online or exercise videos online or yoga classes online, whatever it is, and you can find that information. But this brings us to our final number, which is what I want you to land on in your groups, which is the return on ad spend. So the return on ad spend is telling us for every dollar that I spend in advertising, what do I get back in sales? And it should be greater than 1, right? And from what I've heard from online entrepreneurs that I've worked with, they say they go for at least a 3-to-1 ratio. For every dollar that I spend in digital advertising, I get $3 back in sales. And that accounts for other expenses like, you know, you have somebody probably managing your website, and you know, unless you're doing it all yourself, you are going to have some other costs. So let's actually crunch our return on ad spend for this scenario. And I've got these old numbers in here, so I'm going to correct this.
I have a quick question.
Yes, and this is Reese.
Yes. So going
Okay.
back to cost per click, I'm kind of confused. So like each person that clicks on the ad, we pay like we would be paying the $1.50, for example, or what do you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. Now you can set limits like I'm going to only spend X amount per day, and you might burn through those clicks in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can say I want to pay a maximum of X per click, you know, so there's lots of ways you can set up these budgets as you guys look at like Facebook ads and Instagram, all these platforms. There's lots of ways you can set it up. But yes,
Right.
yeah, cost per click, aka pay per click, is when they click, you pay.
So what you're
Okay.
saying
So
is, oh, sorry.
so for like for example, like on YouTube, when I'm watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos, like all these different YouTubers, like these channels are promoting, you know, a whole bunch of different products, which these people like just sent their ads out. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but like there's a whole bunch of ads on like YouTube, and like there's other just profiles on like Facebook, for example, that just promote and like have all these different ads to promote a product. So each time someone clicks from their profile ad, if that makes sense, like do they get like a portion of, I'm just sorry, I'm just a little confused.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So that's a little, you know, that's if they're an influencer or something, so they're somebody else is paying to be on their channel, right? Or YouTube is putting, you know, lining them up with that channel.
Right.
So it's the advertiser who's trying to get you to click on their ad. That's the person who pays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the person with, it may not be the person with the YouTube channel, et cetera.
Gotcha.
It's a
Okay.
good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Somebody else was going to jump in there. Yeah. Thank you, Shay.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So what you're saying is to what do you call it? That don't click on something unless you're willing to buy it, basically, right? Because that's kind of a dick move to be clicking on links to, you know.
Well, we don't care as consumers. We don't care.
Yeah. But like, you know, we're consumers, but like we have a certain respect for people who are entrepreneurs, you know.
Yeah, you know, and that's, yeah, I mean, that's very ethical of you, Shay. I think most folks, like, we don't care. I'm not paying for this ad. I just want to see their stuff. Man, I'm not going to buy it, right? So that is the risk, and they've already crunched their numbers to know, you know, don't pay above this on a cost per click basis. But yes, when you click, you are activating an expense for somebody down through that advertising channel.
Well, and I've also heard like influencers say like every time a viewer watches like that ad or clicks on that ad, they get a portion of it too. So it's like only if that person on the other end is like fully watching that ad or clicks on that ad, that's when they get a cut.
They get a cut. The advertiser is paying both that is paying the influencer. Yes. Yeah, as part of their cut. So we're getting into different levels and layers here. Yes, so all that's true. So good questions. Let's land on the return on ad spend piece here. So go ahead and take your sales. Actually, let's go ahead and use the 10% because that keeps my numbers. This is actually a different number. So let's use 10%. Let's assume we have this crazy good conversion rate of 10%. So we had 167 leads, 10% of them bought. So that would mean 16.7. Let's round down to 16. So if we had 16 sales and the sales price of the product was $100 each, then our total sales, our total dollar sales daily would be 16 times 100. We're $1,600. And we would divide that by our ad budget. So what would that number be? 1,600 in sales divided by 1,000. Yeah, there we go. So we're crunching some easy numbers here. 1.6. Karen's got it in there. Other folks are crunching it. For every dollar that I spend in advertising, I get $1.60 back. So that's good, but it's not great. We don't know what other expenses this business has. That's just their sales, right? If they're making something that costs something to make, like a hat or a surfboard fin, they might only be making a gross profit of 50 cents, of half of that $100 sales. They're only making $50. So there's other things there. Yes, I understand, Kelly, no worries. So now we're getting to our return on ad spend. And a good one as a thumbnail to go after is 3-to-1. For every dollar in sales, for every dollar in advertising, I get $3 back in sales. You with me so far? Go ahead and hit me with a Y or an N in the chat. Good. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. You guys have had more coffee than me. That's good. All right. So what I want to do now is actually have you guys crunch the numbers. And I'm going to put you into student groups. The last slide here is the return of 1.6 or 2.2 or 3, is it good, right? Well, you can actually look also with the Google search, what is the average return on ad spend for blankety blank industry? And you can find that information there. So what I'm gonna have you do in your breakouts, we're at 2:15, we'll probably may not have enough time to do the Canvas Creative Palooza exercise, but it's open and you guys can still do it individually. I wanted to make sure we were able to crunch these numbers so you have this for your step 5 of your marketing plan. But I'm going to put you in 1 of 2 scenarios. So let me show those real quick. Groups 1 and 3, you have this new scenario. And so instead of $1,000 a day, it's now $2,000 a day. Your conversion rate now goes up to 10%. Product price is still the same. Conversion rate is still, the opt-in is still the same. Your cost per click is the same. So you're spending more. Your cost per click is the same. Your opt-in is the same. Your conversion rate has gone up to 10%. Your sales price. So see if you can go through and actually get to a return on ad spend. And the steps you'll need to do there is first generate traffic, and then determine your number of leads, your cost per lead, number of sales, and then get to the actual, get rid of that there, final number of your cost per sale, and then a return on ad spend. So again, to do the return on ad spend, it's that simple number of total sales divided by ad budget. Total sales divided by ad budget. So that's groups 1 and 3, and then groups 2 and 4, also a $2,000 budget, but now your cost per click has gone up to $2. Conversion rate is still 25%. Opt-in rate is 25%. Conversion rate is 10%. You want to get to that return on ad spend. So you can go back through these slides and look at these steps, but the main calculation you need is your sales divided by your ad budget. That's how you get return on ad spend. Now, before I put you in groups, I do want to just give a cursory nod here to break-even cost per click. You don't need this for your marketing plan, but it is an interesting extra piece. And there's some other sources in the resource page on this, but this basically tells you, here's my don't fly zone. Don't spend more than this on a cost per click. Don't overbid your cost per click, or I'm going to go negative. I might generate sales, but my cost per click is so high that I'm actually losing money with every sale. We don't want to do that, right? So to do that, the calculation is this piece here. It's the contribution margin multiplied by your conversion rate. We already know that conversion rate, that's how many people actually buy. The sample we were looking at was 2.4%. So let's assume you have a contribution margin, I'll explain that in a second, of $25 and a conversion rate of 4%. If I have a contribution margin, and I'll explain that in a second, of $25 and a conversion rate of 4%, 25 times 0.04 gives me $1. That tells me that I shouldn't spend more than $1 on a cost per click bid, or I'm going to go negative. So what is this contribution margin piece? So that's this example here. You have your sales price of what you're selling. In the example I gave you, it was $100 a piece. But then you have your own cost. Those of you who took accounting, there's cost of goods sold. But it's that gross cost to make your widget, make your thing per unit. So the sales price per unit for these umbrellas is $35. It costs them $10 to make each umbrella. So this is, we got some British language here, but your contribution margin, your gross profit, if you will, is $25 for every umbrella I sell. So that's your contribution margin, your gross profit. So could you calculate this for your marketing plan product? You could. You would have to figure out what is the average gross margin percentage for my product category. You could do some research on that. And gross margins vary widely depending on what you're selling. But for a kind of one size fits all, you could use 50% margin. Meaning I sell it for $100 and it costs me $50 to make. And I make the other $50. That's a gross margin of 50%. Your net margin is how much you actually put in your pocket. That's other things like salaries and utilities and all the other expenses. But for the contribution margin, all we care about is that gross margin. So this is not required. This is a little extra sidebar piece if you want to geek out on numbers and go further. But it's a good thing to know. You can figure out what a break-even cost per click is, and then you know don't pay more than that. And I have a sample here that you can look at as an example. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to put you into either scenario 2 with these numbers. That's slide 14. Slide 14. Or I'm going to put you in scenario 3, slide 15 with these numbers. And what you want to do in your group and just take like 10 minutes and see if you can crunch down to a return on ad spend. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to stop sharing.